Hi friends, this is Lynn. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to provide another reading to basically celebrate the upcoming full moon, which will be occurring on Friday, and it traditionally is called the wolf moon. I just love that name, and the reason is because essentially this is a time at the beginning of 2020, and the wolf moon really was named because of wolves being hungry and howling at the moon. I actually like to envision something a little brighter than that, meaning wolves are our primal nature. They are not to be feared. They represent deep magic. They represent those forces within us that can be our shadow, those things that are longing to be expressed. So we have an expression of howling at the moon, meaning getting a little crazy, getting a little wild. But you know what? Like, that's exactly what we need to do. So in celebration of the full moon, I'm also encouraging all of you to look at what's going on in your heart. And I'm going to explain that a little bit when we look at the reading. So for this reading today, I also wanted to meditate on what is going on in the world today. I will be commenting a little bit on the energy forces that I really picked up. And the one thing that I really want to get across is that this meditation was a little difficult for me. I used two decks, my traditional Motherpeace deck, which I have been using for so many years that it just really resonates with me. And I use it in conjunction with other decks. And so the second deck that you see here is basically the Goddess Tarot deck. And I pulled 5 cards really to explain the movement from the past and present to what I see as the future. And again, I'm looking at the cosmic consciousness or the energy that is now in the world. The energy is going to go a little darker and deeper. And so I will explain that. First of all, we have the Eight of Cups, and the Eight of Cups really represents a time of abundance, a time when people acquire. People say, I would like to have that, please. I would like to achieve that, please. I would like that job, that object, that person. And really acquiring in one's lifetime. Now, not everyone in the world acquires. We here in the United States tend to be very focused on this. And what this card is a longing for something different. There is the abundance, but with it also is a longing and a need for something more emotionally fulfilling, more in alignment with our true nature and more in alignment with spirit. So you see the woman and she's looking at the moon. The moon is not full. In our case, the moon will be full on Friday. But this is a time in the past when we are looking at abundance and really thinking of the idea that our life, even though we have all of these things, it just won't do. It's not going to be emotionally fulfilling for many of us. We move then into the Princess of Cups, which is a beautiful card. She's a beautiful soul, and she says to herself, how can I make the world a better place? How can I drink from this cup and give to others in such a way that love is spread into the world? Well, the first way that that happens is with self-love. So you can see she's playful. She likes to have fun. She's very sensual, and she plays in the water. She knows that the water provides deep rejuvenation, energy, but really it is the idea of we are moving away from these things and these people and relationships and situations that do not fulfill us into even beginning to ask the question, what is it that I can do to change my life, to change the world, to be playful so that I can take the next step? We move on to the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords really represents a very unproductive pattern. In fact, this person is pretty angry. When I look at the state of the world and I hear about what's going on in the world right now, I think this fits. This is the card of a truce between people or nations that may be false. Two swords are down, and yet three swords are ready to be picked up. This is a card of pain. This is a card of, can this truce really last? It's questionable whether peace will actually continue. It's questionable whether this truce is genuine because there's still hostility. There still is a high level of distrust. We look at this and you can see the swords in a pattern that really represents a feeling of, I'm stuck. I'm stuck and I don't trust anybody. I believe this represents the state of the world that we are in right now and what's going on in the Middle East. Questioning our very lives because we've been so lucky, most of us, to have been abundant. We're so lucky that we're in a position where we got to play and we got to say, what's next? Not everyone in the world has this luxury by any means. We now move into two different cards, and as you can see, there are different interpretations here. One is the Tower. Most people fear this card, and as you can see, there's lightning and thunder, and literally an image of Satan taking up the world, shaking up our very foundations, our structures that have been so meaningful, and saying enough. This energy says enough. These old structures need to change. It's usually a card of upheaval, but it's a card of transformation. Now, ironically, this card is labeled as oppression, and it represents the people, the Wawalak people. This is a card of Australia. The card basically states that during the dream time, the Australian Aboriginal sister goddesses, the Wawalak, were swallowed whole by the great rainbow serpent. Oppressed by darkness in the belly of the serpent, the Wawalak wept until they were reborn back into the light. I have a deep sympathy for the people, the animals, the beautiful landscape of Australia. I don't believe that this was any coincidence that this came up in the reading. The very foundations of life in certain countries have truly, truly been shaken. I did a lot of Reiki before this reading, and Australia will come out of this. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of destruction. I'm really hoping that the destruction of the nature and the animals and people's lives and habitat can be a way of opening up the eyes of the entire world to look at what is going on with climate change, what is going on for us as a people. And I continue to be renewed by the stories where the koalas and different animals are being saved, and the tremendous hearts of the people who are fighting every day to put out those fires and continue on and restore beautiful Australia. So I know people in Australia, and I'm sending them love and light. As I said, this was a harder reading for me today. The last card, I'm very excited to say, is the Ace of Staves, or Wands as people say it. This is a time when we break out of old regimes. We literally see the sun again. We see new growth. We see new patterns, a new sense of hope, a world where the natural world is being honored. Restoration from fires, restoration again of hope and peace. It may take us a while as a society and as a world to get there, but it will come. There will be new growth. And as you can see, the fire is all around. And things are being born out of the depths of utter destruction. There will be new hope. There is hope for Australia, and there is hope for the world as a whole. We're going to go through some dark and shaky times. This is the path to light. So with that, all things begin anew after a time of clearing. I meditated with my sage today, and I basically used what is called clary sage, which is a great herb. This is made into an essential oil, but essentially it is the herb that really helps with feelings of oppression, feeling like you can't take anymore. So as we go along together on this journey, every time I do a reading that is significant, I will try and give everyone a coping skill, because we're moving into a time of tremendous change. And with that, what really came to me is just something very, very simple. If you have the luxury to bathe by the light of the moon, please do so. If you don't, just take a normal bath. Take a bath, and my advice is to put some clary sage in the bath water. It's a time when you may receive your own visions. Clary sage is also a great herb for restoration, for healing grief, for healing loss. It's a beautiful grounding herb that also lifts depression And it can be used as a way to just heal your soul. The time of the full moon is a time when we are resorting back to what we know deep at our hearts needs to happen. We can't ignore it. And so with that, emotions can be at an all-time high. Please know that the full moon, again, as always, will pass into a new state of transformation, which is the new moon, the time when we plant seeds for new growth that we want to have happen. The full moon is the impetus to explore what deep messages lie within us, which always lead to an unfolding of hope. Thank you so much. If you like this reading, please subscribe to my channel. Please like the video. Please comment. I would love to hear your feedback. This reading was a little difficult for me, but so positive. In the long run, so positive. There is light after the darkness. There is hope. Namaste.